Kia ora koutou, Markie here. I'm in the mobile studio, as you might see by the dots on the windscreen. I'm up the mountain, and I had hoped to give you some nice views, but it's been very rainy, so the weather. So I haven't got out of the car. I mean, I got here and had some food, and then it still was a bit unclear, so I thought I had a nap because I'm getting to that age. But it is starting to clear now, so hopefully we'll get a bit of a walk, but nothing like the walk I would have got had I been able to get out earlier. So yes, so sorry about the lack of beautiful mountain views for you, but you do get a little bit of bush, which is better than nothing, isn't it? So I wanted to talk in this video something that came up from a comment on my previous video on triggers. Now, I've done a few videos on triggers, and they've been triggers in different contexts. So they've been triggers for retroactive jealousy, triggers for alcohol relapse for people, drug and alcohol relapse for people who are in recovery, and this was a comment from a YouTuber called Uncle BURPEE Yoga. And he is an amazing guy. Have a look at his channel. I'll put a link below. If it's not there when you look, don't panic. I'll get to it. It might not be straight away. He describes his channel as everything from cooking to Camus. I think he says Camus as in the French philosopher. But he does burpees. He's not somebody that has, belches a lot. He does burpees, and his kind of catchphrase now is fit nearer to 60. I think he calls it. It was fit over 50, but obviously he must be getting a little bit older, as we all are. And he does these amazing exercise videos, which he does this exercise every day. I think he does 100 burpees a day or something like that. It's kind of crazy. And he's a big supporter of this channel, which we really appreciate. We appreciate all our subscribers and supporters, because this channel has a purpose, as well as hopefully being a bit of fun and providing you with varied content. We are here to get helpful people with retroactive jealousy, helpful life-saving information out to those people, and we do it through a number of means, YouTube just being one of them. The thing about YouTube, though, is you have to post regularly, otherwise YouTube doesn't show your content to anyone, and you just kind of fall into obscurity among the millions and millions of people there are on YouTube. So that's why we do stuff that's not on retroactive jealousy. So you'll find we do more stuff that's not on retroactive jealousy than is on retroactive jealousy. Now, the other thing I usually say in my preamble is that we're a low-tech channel for the most part. I'm low-tech anyway, and I'm also neurodiverse, so I have a certain way of going about things, which isn't to everybody's style, but is very spontaneous, very authentic, in the moment, and that includes things like a shaky camera, because I use my iPhone. And I've had sound problems lately on the camera, so the sound has been cutting in and out. So if that's happening on this one, my apologies. I need to get to the root of the problem, but haven't quite got there yet. Now, cross your fingers for me, because it does seem to be clearing a bit, and I may still be able to get a walk in. But I also wanted to do some videos, so I'm pleased about being able to do that. And so this guy, as well as having an amazing channel and being an amazing person, he's from, I believe he's in Hawaii. He seems to travel a lot, so he does quite a lot of international kind of content as well. He pointed out on my last video on triggers, which was what was the video on stealth triggers. I was talking about retroactive jealousy and stealth triggers. Now, if that means nothing to you, don't worry, because that's only something you need to know about if you've got retroactive jealousy. He pointed out that, and I can't remember the exact words of the comment, but along the lines of, oh, everybody's triggered these days. You know, what's with that? So I made him sound a bit New York for some reason. But I thought he had a very good point, actually, and it's something I've noticed. It's one of my big interests, and there's a big playlist of stuff on language, on good use of English on this channel, so check out my playlist for that. In fact, I'm hoping to record a video on that today, so there'll be a video on that coming out very soon. Check out the playlist if you're interested in language, if you're interested in spoken English, and how to speak well, accurately and eloquently, as I like to call it. But yeah, everybody is talking about being triggered, saying this triggered me and that triggered me, and I thought, yeah, that's true. I've noticed that, and it's quite interesting. I thought, yeah, it'd be good to do some content on this. So, what triggered? I mean, obviously, trigger. It's a metaphor. You have a trigger on a gun. You have a trigger on other things as well. You pull the trigger and something happens. A bullet flies out, and sometimes somebody dies. So a trigger it's about cause and effect, about something that a stimuli, an event that causes something to happen. So as a metaphor, you can use it for anything. You can you could say that up on this mountain, the atmospheric conditions were such that rain was triggered. Probably wouldn't be a very good way of saying it, but you could say that. But the original, the context of this, and people saying that they're triggered, comes from the original use of the term, meaning a physical or mental condition, a medical condition, medical or psychiatric condition, has symptoms which can be triggered. So usually you suffer from the condition. It's like a chronic, long-standing condition that you have that is not always active. So, for example, being around those cats today triggered my asthma. So, people who have asthma aren't necessarily having breathing problems all the time. I mean, some people are. Asthma is one of those things that can, vary enormously in severity. Horrible condition. So you might be free of symptoms from asthma most of the time, and then something triggers it. So it might be exercise might trigger it, or an allergen might trigger it, and it's used an awful lot in, and particularly relevant and useful for post-traumatic stress disorder. So post-traumatic stress disorder, one of the symptoms is flashbacks. Okay. And what flashbacks mean, it's not, people get this wrong. People think, if you ask people if they have flashbacks, often they'll say yes, and what they're talking about is vivid memories that get triggered by something. But what flashbacks are is where you go back into a past event or situation as if you were right back there. And I've worked with people who've had flashbacks while I've been working with them, and it's like they suddenly become very difficult to reach. They can kind of in the incidences I've had of this, they were able to talk to me, but it was like I faded far into the background, and what was in their foreground was a recreation of a past event as if it was today. So, and triggers for that can be anything that remind people of that event. I know worked with someone once who was triggered by big ships because of a trauma that he had while in a boat. And what else triggers people? So films and TV and news items can trigger people. Conversation topics can trigger people. So for somebody that's got PTSD from childhood abuse, which is very common. Sorry, I'm going to move the camera because I'm getting very uncomfortable. They can get triggered by a news item or reading a newspaper or anything like that. So and then the other thing that can happen with medical conditions is when people are in recovery, a relapse can be triggered. So when we're talking about drugs and alcohol, and we talk about triggers, we're talking about a trigger for a relapse. And if you want to know more about that, I've got videos on that. I've got lots of videos on drug and alcohol recovery because that's a big part of my working background. So that's what we mean by triggers. So with retroactive jealousy, you can go into, Well, you get both kinds of triggers really. While you still have the condition, it's not always active. You know, people with retroactive jealousy, it comes and goes. Sometimes it feels like the thoughts associated with retroactive jealousy are constant. Sometimes there's periods where they almost are constant. But then there's times where it's in the background or it fades away, and then somebody says something or you hear a song that reminds you of something, and you're triggered, and it re-triggers the intrusive thoughts. So that's what we mean by retroactive jealousy triggers. So if you don't know what retroactive jealousy is, check out our background videos on that. We've got over 100 videos on retroactive jealousy. If you don't know what it is and you want to know, you don't need to know, unless you've got it, and then you really need to know. Check our playlist for that, and it'll talk to you more about that. So what's this video about? Why am I talking about this? Well, as Uncle BURPEE Yoga, I got that in the right order. I probably haven't. My brain's a bit scrambled today. You'll see it in the description box anyway. I'll get it right there. And myself have become aware that people are commonly saying, "Oh, this triggered me and that triggered me," and they're not people that suffer with a condition. Good for them. That's great. It's great to see people, mentally and physically healthy. And what they mean by that triggered me is basically it means it pissed me off or it upset me. So does it matter that people are saying this triggered me and that triggered me and they haven't got a condition? Not really, not in the greater scheme of things. But I suppose it could be offensive to people who have conditions where they do get triggered. If you're living with something like PTSD, then when you get triggered, something really horrible happens, or asthma. you might not like the idea of people using the word triggered all the time. I don't think I have a strong feeling about it, but it is something I've noticed. And linguistic trends are really interesting, and for me they're often really annoying, and which is why I have a series that really is a rant about poor use of language, and often complaining about kind of trendy phrases and habits that people are adopting that just don't make sense. So I'm a pedant. I'm a grumpy bastard. I'm not a linguist or a grammarian or anything like that, but I do love the English language. I hate to see it butchered, because I think it's a beautiful and elegant thing. And I could say it triggers me, couldn't I? I could say it triggers me when that happens. But it doesn't. It doesn't trigger me. It pisses me off. So, what do you think? Should people say, if they don't have a condition and they say that they get triggered by things, is that disrespectful to people that have conditions where triggers are a very real thing? Is it annoying for you? Is it something you think, well, for goodness sake, Markie, it's people use all sorts of phrases. Why are you being so sensitive about this? And I'm not really. I'm not. It's like I say, it annoys me, but it's not a big deal. It's not something I lose sleep over. But if I had the choice of whether people who didn't have conditions use that phrase, if I was the dictator of the universe, I probably still wouldn't use my powers to take away people's freedom of choice around the words they use, but the smaller childlike part of me would would ban that, would prevent that from happening. So there you go. That's just a few thoughts on language. So I'm going to list this one, and this one will go in the playlist for the accurate and elegant spoken English, and also for in my playlist for favourite YouTube channels, because I've got a playlist of those as well, because channels that I like, I quite often will just do a quick video kind of telling people about the channel and recommending that people go and see the channel. You can see it's brightening up a little bit more, so I may get to go walkies after all. thank you for listening to this. It's a bit of a ramble, this one. They usually are rambles, but this is even more of a ramble than normal. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching this video to the end, because that makes YouTube show it to more people and show our retroactive jealousy videos to more people, which is really important. So thank you again, Rangimarie.